All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to 90 Degree Radio. I'm your host, Slate to the Rock.
It's Sky Blue.
And Ronnie. No, not Ronnie. Lonnie. Be good. There we go.
Wait a second.
Wait, edit it out.
Ronnie DeVoe. That's all good. You said your radio name.
Yeah, there we go. Take a few days.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. So we just gave you all a recap on the Honda Battle of the Bands. This was the first Honda I ever went to where there was ice or snow all over the ground.
Oh, that was nice.
That was really nice.
Totally awesome.
Courtesy of global warming.
Yes, thank you, global warming, for us not having to ice skate up to the entrance of the Georgia Dome to go see the Honda Battle of the Bands.
65-degree weather.
Once again, screw Al Gore. And everything
You were wrong,
he stands
sir.
for.
You've been wrong for the longest. You know not what you speak.
Right.
You leave the polar bears out of this.
Right.
The hole in the ozone is good.
Right.
It's a good thing.
It is.
Less emissions, more holes in the ozone.
Just look at what it does.
Right.
I'm
No ice
enjoying
skating for Honda.
You know,
just perfect weather.
no one snowed in, iced in.
Right. I love. Thank you, global warming. Thank you. But so we did our recap on the Honda. I thought overall it was good, just like it is every year.
Yeah, I did too.
I definitely did. You know, for all the people that are sitting there saying, "Oh, this Honda was boring. It was slack. It was this," just don't come back.
Right. Thank you. I don't have to hear your voice anymore.
Right.
You know, it was a very wonderful, positive experience putting out our craft.
Right.
I enjoyed it. It brought attention to what we do. I am happy. I loved it.
Yep.
Different
As always.
styles, different showcases of talent, creativity.
Diversification.
Definitely.
Big, good bands, small little bands.
Yeah.
Big, good little bands. Good
Wonderful
big
high
bands.
school bands featuring themselves.
You
Love
leave them
it.
alone.
I mean, there was a lot of love. Clearly, like you said, Alcorn plays,
Homage.
Cookman's. You said
Not Alcorn.
Not Alcorn. I'm
They've
sorry.
never been, have they?
Not
Like,
Alcorn, because I'm thinking it's time for them to make a debut.
they
you know,
never made it out of Mississippi. So
Yeah.
that would be nice. But no, it was
I
the
mean,
other group.
Yeah, but
With the A, with
Those
the A
other
and the
kids.
L.
yeah, them playing BCU's theme song.
Yeah.
I mean, did y'all think nobody was gonna notice? I mean, I'm just like, we do live in the technology age.
Right.
You can't be a college and play another college's theme song.
Right. YouTube
Theme,
was on the snitch.
keyword theme. Not song that they play a lot,
Yeah.
Right.
but their
Or- yeah.
theme,
Their theme song. You can't just play. I mean, you can play a song that you heard them play in the fifth quarter.
Yeah, that's right.
That's music that's up for grabs.
But when the theme song has a mascot that's not yours being featured,
And it's copywritten. Copywritten.
yeah, Albany State playing Let's Go Wildcats doesn't really make much sense. I see it where Fort Valley, they're the Wildcats too, so
Right.
I see where they try to get in.
Albany State are the
Rams.
which
I'm
is
instead of the Rams,
Yeah.
Let's go.
which is probably the all opposite of a Wildcat.
Rams.
Rams.
Did they say Ramcats?
Let's go Rams.
Maybe they just said Ramcats. Yeah.
Wait, how did they do? Wait.
I don't.
So now I have to go YouTube this.
Yeah, we have to.
Because, you know what? Matter of fact, in between one of these segments, we're going to play Albany State's version on the little break that we take. We're going to play, obviously, so you guys can hear how stupid it sounds. There's no round cats. What? Round cats. It doesn't make any sense to anybody.
I can't take this.
You guys should feel like something. I don't know what, but something. You just should feel a certain way about
Yeah,
that.
you just can't do that. You gotta.
Who was the person in the band room when they announced, like, we're gonna play Let's Go? And who was that person that knew it was stupid, but then, just
Well,
step
man, we
up?
played in high school. Everybody can figure it out. I mean, we in Albany. Don't let come through here but Greyhound. So
The Greyhound.
how they gonna figure out?
Ain't nobody getting off that bus? Good.
We don't got YouTube in Albany.
You guys say it just like that too, Albany.
Oh, no. So, okay.
We going in.
That's already like
Segment.
4 or 5 minutes right there. All right.
So, all right, we were talking before the break about the tragic hazing death of Robert Champion, who's a dear friend of ours. And we just wanted to kind of talk about some myths associated with Robert's death and hazing in general. And just want to kind of clear up from some true band heads, clear up some myths about what happened with Robert, what goes on in terms of hazing.
We are not experts claiming to be people whom have never participated or have participated. We're not saying we know for a fact that this happens. We are only speaking on firsthand knowledge for ourselves. These are specifically based on what we know.
Right.
So we just like to throw that out there.
Right.
For those that are not familiar with the situation, after the Florida Classic of 2011, Robert Champion, drum major at FAMU, was because it was so weird. It was so awkward for me because I was actually at a party and I got a phone call the night of that Saturday, and the person on the other end was like, Robert's not breathing. Robert's not breathing. He's not breathing. He's just here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So for me, it was very, very hard to fathom because first off, I'm like, why is Robert not breathing? Keep in mind, these are some things people should know. Robert was 26.
Right.
He was a drum major at Florida A&M University. This is not the first band he marched with. He also marched at Clark Atlanta his freshman year when he graduated from Southwest DeKalb. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Allegedly, he, from participating in a hazing ritual for crossing bus C, he vomited, choked on his saliva, throw up, vomit, whatnot, could not breathe, had, what did the coroner report say he had? His beating was, he was beat to death also.
Blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma. Something that you, and what stood out for me is in the report, it said it's something you would receive from a car accident.
Right, or a murder.
Right.
Where you were bludgeoned with a weapon.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things that.
But
this is the same outcome.
He was on a bus and this happened.
Right.
So this is where we're going with this is that why?
Right.
That's ultimately why.
Right. Why?
Why did this happen? Again, a lot of people, those that are not in the band world, they're saying he was drum major. Why is he going through anything? Why isn't he like the leader in the band?
Right.
Like what is he getting hazed for? Was he online for something? Was he trying to do for those that are only aware of KK's side? No, was he online for KK side? This, that, and the other. Which Tom Joyner showed his ignorance with that one.
Yeah, that was really.
He dropped the ball.
Like completely, and he's a Q dog. And this is what kills me. You're a Q dog from Tuskegee.
Right.
So like, dude, seriously. But again, those that
it was shocking to people, and I guess
because it's the band.
Right. In his mind, he was trying to make the correlation. Well, the band has a Greek fraternity, and
that's the only reason, I guess.
And
for
he
him.
severely misspoke. Right.
It really was.
Not that he went back and apologized for it later on, but still, you can never undo the damage of what your initial comments were.
Because you have so many followers.
And then his comments were just downright rude towards KK side as well. He was saying they're not a real frat.
Yeah, he just totally did not acknowledge them. And
I'm sure it was based on anger again, but still.
Which a lot of people you do, because you have to. It's one of these situations. I knew Robert personally, so to this day, I'm still. I would argue anybody down to this day that I really feel like this was uncalled for. It was unnecessary, and every person involved, they need to be under the jail. Very much so. So that's just my opinion, because it was just wrong completely.
And while we're talking about myths, I think. There are a lot of people in just the regular world who don't understand band, who they some kind of way have equated band members or FAMU specifically as trying to cover up or take up or some kind of way justify what happened. But most people I talk to in the band world and at FAMU, specifically people who were in the band, feel the same way you feel. They're like, this is unheard of. It's complete foolishness, nonsense. I've never heard anything like this. And these people need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's the general opinion of people that I've heard, And, Tom Joyner did severely misspeak. I understand, there's a myriad of emotions happening, and he said some things that he should not have said. He speculated on a lot of things. But, speaking of myths again, Kappa Psi had nothing to do with...
Nothing at all.
Robert was not online for KK side.
They had just crossed the line.
Right.
their line had just, I want to say, came out. It was 3 on that line.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that was not an issue for those not privy to the facts. That definitely was not the case. Kappa Kappa Psi, Honorary Fraternity Incorporated had nothing to do with this.
Right. And what people also need to understand about it was a ritual, a hazing ritual that was restricted to a specific section in the band, which was the percussion section.
Right. Bus C.
Bus C is a percussion bus, and the ritual was restricted to that section in the band.
Exactly.
So that's the truth. I've heard other people say, "Oh, well, he was a drum major. He dropped his baton in the game, so the other drum majors made him cross Bus C because he dropped his baton." And I'm saying to myself, me being a drum major, I've dropped my baton. I've seen other drum majors drop their baton. That you don't get a physical punishment.
Yeah.
We don't do that. You know.
Okay, so, all right, dispel this. Because the misconception is, when you were a FAMU drum major, in order for you to be respected as a FAMU drum major, you have to cross Bus C.
That is a complete untruth.
All right.
There was most of the guys who were drum majors did Bus C before they were drum majors.
Okay.
And usually, the only guys who really did Bus C were guys who were percussionists and then became drum majors. Because if you were in the percussion section, and again, this is based on what I saw in my experience in the band. If you were in the percussion section, 99% of them actually did Bus C. And I'll be honest with you, the ritual from what I understood it to be was you walked away with a couple bumps and bruises. And I still did not approve of it then. I still thought it was pretty silly and ignorant. But I understood why people did it, because I was talk to guys and be like, look, you're a fabulous leader. You are, your resume speaks for itself. Why do you feel like you need to go through this?
Right.
And, the people who I was speaking with for the most part would be like, listen, when I get on the field, when I become a drum major, I want to try out for drum major. I want to be a section leader, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to have to deal with any barriers that would have me to not be able to have the ultimate authority when I get on the field. If I ask somebody to do something, I don't want them to hide behind the fact that, oh, you ain't no percussionist, you ain't did Bus C. They were like, I want my authority to be far-reaching.
So let's throw this in there for those that don't know. Robert did not do his section at FAMU, which would have been the clones.
Right.
He did not do his section.
Right.
The only actual going over or participating in any kind of process that he did was for RDO, which is not even a band group.
Right.
It's a state group for the state of Georgia.
Right.
So
RDO is Red Dog Order for y'all.
For those
who
not
don't
familiar.
know.
So he did Red Dog, and he was also a section leader for this group that he did not do. He was not a clone, but he was over clones.
Right.
So for those that don't know, if he were to be pronounced head drum major next year, what Slate just went into saying, I don't want to have the issues, the backlash, this and other. He might have went through it this year.
Right.
So a lot of people are questioning if he is such, and a lot of the stories that have come out, even with the Bria Hunter situation, she was saying that Robert told her, don't do it, don't participate in don't participate in hazing. They even go as far as to the first meeting where the freshmen and the undergrad actually meet, their first band meeting, where Robert was like, don't participate in this, that, and other. You don't have to do this. I've been here, I've marched, and I'm drum major, and I didn't do this. You don't have to.
Right.
So it's him being a person saying, don't do this, but why, in the end, would he say suddenly, okay, I'm going to participate in this, but I've been for the past 6 years anti-hazing, don't do this, and trying to lead all these other kids not to do it.
Right.
With what Slate just said, I personally feel he wanted to be a person to make a change. But just like anybody that joins any organization or any group, they feel like you don't have a say-so. If you're not in the group, you don't have a say-so.
Right.
That's period.
You can't change it.
You can't change it, but once you're a part, you can be that change.
Right.
Unfortunately, his demise came trying to be a part. And that's where we're at right now.
I have to completely agree with that, because I've seen where there is, it's more or less, we were talking earlier off mic about the mentality. And really what you have to deal with is, if the band director says you have this authority and you're a drum major or you're a section leader or you're a rank sergeant, then that's just what it is.
Right.
See, we have if we have a culture of anything, it's not hazing. as media has painted us out to be, we have a culture of saying, "Oh, well, I don't respect you as a leader because
of such and
X,
such
Y,
and
Z,
such and such and
ABC.
such.
What you've done,
You didn't
what
do
you
bus C.
haven't done.
You was fooling with some girl I like.
Right.
You was fooling with some dude I like. I don't
Versus
think you
this is
came
the law.
right. Versus this is the law. So I think we more or less deal with a mentality, and I'm gonna be the politically incorrect person here, and I'll say it. When I was a drum major, even when I was in the band, I saw this attitude from several different sections in the band. But the more prevalent attitude, and really the severe attitude against authority figures, period, was in the percussion section. And I've talked to some people at different respective HBCUs that say the same thing. It seems like not all, but the worst cases of this mentality come from a lot of cats in the percussion section. And I'm not trying to blackball one group. I'm just calling it like I see it. And I think the real problem we need to address is, why is it that in a marching band program, or whatever it is, why is it that we cannot respect the person that's been placed in front of us by the band director, who has all these pedigrees and all these achievements and this status? If this person with all these decorated, awards can say this is a leader and you need to respect them, why is it do we not give this person the automatic respect that we would give the person who appointed them, being the band director? Why do we always have to challenge our peers in that way and just not have a healthy relationship and say, this is your job on the field. Off the field, we are the same people. But on the field, we have a job to do, and you are my superior on the field.
Right.
Because the band, again, is based on it's a paramilitary organization.
Exactly.
We have ranks. That's why you have rank sergeants.
Right.
You have drum majors, That's why you have all these different section leaders, rank sergeants.
Section leaders.
Because it's based on rank. And a person who outranks you is your superior. You listen and follow
instructions. And they're placed
instructions.
in that position because they've done something that you didn't do.
Exactly.
Right.
So more or less, we need to deal with the mentality that makes people feel like, oh, I don't respect you. You need to come do bus C so I can beat you, and then I'll respect you. Like, what?
Right. Right. And I think a lot of the issue too comes with band directors' thoughts and the band members themselves' thoughts being on two different wavelengths. Like, a band director might see something in a student and think that they're a leader, but the band members think that it's something completely different.
Very good point.
And I'll go out on the stretch as well and use my school as an example. We had a drum major who, his freshman year, decided he wasn't going to take any crap at all. Well, when he was a freshman, he wasn't going to take any crap at all. And he actually hit upperclassmen.
Right.
Now, the band director saw that as, okay, this guy isn't going to take any crap. That's somebody with leadership skills.
Right.
Now, the band may not have seen it that way. The band saw it as, well, he didn't want to go through.
He didn't want to go through the process.
Yeah, the process. So you got two different thought processes on the different wavelengths. And the band director is only one person, especially in a huge band.
Right.
So you got 300 people versus what the band director said.
Right.
And the band director can only be around you during band hours.
Exactly. You have to fight your own battles.
Right.
You cannot go get the band director when somebody wants to be insubordinate.
Right.
You did that every time. You would be up in the tower all the time.
If maturation doesn't occur at any point, it does occur your freshman year marching in a band.
Right.
Because you make so many decisions on your own. And these are really, looking back, these are life-altering decisions.
Right.
Whether or not you're going to participate in this, whether or not you're going to do this, that, and the other. You're going to deal with the ridicule of people saying that you're not this, that, and the other. And what a lot of people don't understand, and they don't realize until later, which is so unfortunate, but it comes at some point. You're the bigger person when you go against the majority.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You are that bigger person. You don't have to do what everybody else does.
Right.
Because they think it's cool. If you sit back and look at what they're doing, does it have any... This is one thing, I've always had this argument, and people will fight me to this day, and I don't care. But when we're on the field and we're doing the show, what people see in the stands is everybody in that uniform.
Right.
They don't know who did what section, who is this Greek, who is this, that, and the other.
It doesn't
all
matter.
they see is the entire band as a whole.
Right.
That is all they see. And that's what people need to understand, because you're one on that field. Contrary to what you want to believe, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, I'm everything on that field, because that's all people see.
Right.
So regardless if I do this, that, and the other, that's not the image we're giving out, because we're here for performance. We're here for entertainment.
Right.
That other stuff, irrelevant.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because people leave high school with the concept, or not even high school, I think it's just life, or where they feel like they need to fit in.
Right.
Like,
They
I need
have
to
fit
be in the crowd.
I have to belong. People have to accept me.
And
I'm like, and that's fine, but there are positive ways to have that reinforced without doing something crazy. And
you can
ultimately,
be respected for, you'd be surprised, and the things is people who do things to get respect for, and they look back and say, that wasn't worth that.
right.
You know, so it's just, you have to sit and pick and choose your battles. And in this case, unfortunately for Robert, the only thing I can say, because he was a very positive person for anyone that ever met him, Rob was like that guy. He really was.
And it's so difficult. The loss of, you don't want to say, and I certainly don't feel like anybody deserved that.
Right.
But it like the karma doesn't match up. Robert, simply because of what you're saying, Robert was a person who was very soft-spoken, would help anybody. Really wouldn't utter a bad or a negative thing about anybody. Just was not that type of person.
You didn't get negative energy from him, period.
Right, completely cool, completely helpful. Whatever I needed to do, he was always a drum major. Just simply in the respect of, even before he made drum major at Southwest Cab, at FAMU, from the respect of, he was willing to do whatever it took to get the job done. He was willing to stay late and come early. Dance routine committee, show planning committee, whatever it is in terms of band that needed to be done, he would come back up to the high school during the summer, whenever it was. If he's home from break, you know how band heads are, I got to be around band, let me go up here and help out. We'll go help out and we'll stand behind all the other drum majors and say, I think this, I think that. You know,
he was not a dictator.
Not a dictator
in
at
any
all.
means, because you have those people who think, oh, I did it this way, or we talked about earlier, this guy said it's never be done this way. No, Robert was a person who offered input, and not because he knew better or he thought it was better, it's because it might have been something that needed to be tweaked. But then if you didn't ask him, he really didn't even give it to you. So it was he was one of those people.
Right.
Robert was like, I can, and you know what, and I'll say this because I don't really deal with that many people on the east side, but I deal with Robert. Like, he was like one of those people.
With the east side,
you know? I would throw that out there. Like, I did not deal with, especially I didn't deal with people from FAMU, but he was somebody that I text often. I love Robert. He was awesome sauce. I couldn't even get like just past it. So I can only say that I can understand what he wanted to do by participating in the process. His age is not a factor for me, because my whole thing, he was trying to finish.
Yeah, that kind of made
degree.
me upset too when I hear people talking about his age. And I mean, I know you don't expect a college student to be, that age, but I'm just like,
situations are situations.
People go back to school, and if you're marching in the band when you go back to school and they're giving you a scholarship,
that's
what's wrong with it? He was physically able to do that.
And that's my thing. That's not a factor for me, because my whole thing is he's someone trying to better himself and trying to do better. He could easily be someone not doing anything here in Georgia. Like some of you guys listening, I'm just gonna throw it out there. He could easily be that person, but he was trying to finish school and get his degree and do something productive. And the fact that it was countered and it was stopped, I can't really wrap my hands around it, but I do appreciate the fact that it's bringing a light to this lifestyle that goes on that people didn't understand, because a lot of people did not know that hazing goes on in bands. Like, and it does.
With all that being said, someone said something to the point that you have to be really strong to go against the majority, and you really do, because like you said, when you have even a 50-member band, that's still a lot of people versus
that's 49 other people.
Right. So even, I'm just using Winston-Salem because of their size. Even in the band the size of Winston-Salem, that's still a lot of people who you have to go against the grain with. But now that we've pinpointed that that's one of the issues with the mentality of not going with the band director's definition of leadership, do you think that's something that will ever change? Because in just society as a whole, that's a problem, not just in the band. In our society, as a whole, it is a serious problem. Right. We just, for whatever reason, I mean, we do it to police officers all the time. Whether we feel like they are right. I mean, even and I say I'll throw that example out there, but even in cases where we know that we are wrong.
Like, you know you were speeding. And you know this officer is going to pull you over and write you a ticket for speeding.
Right.
But you still give him a terrible attitude and you blame him.
Argue it down.
Right. I mean, now, but you know, it'll be a different argument if you were going to say, listen, speed limit laws are too low. And why do you make a car that goes 160 miles an hour if you don't want me to drive it faster than 55?
No one brings up that argument, though.
Of course.
I do. But what I do is I don't blame the police officer for writing me a
He's
ticket.
doing his job.
Because he's doing his job.
Right.
I don't blame him. I don't give him attitude or get upset with him.
Right.
Now, I have gotten attitudes with officers when they pull me over just because I'm driving while being an African American male.
Okay,
That's happened to me
okay.
quite frequently in my life.
Especially closer to this border.
Yeah, I was say, hopefully it doesn't happen to me on the way home.
Hey.
If you guys knew where we were,
Right.
I passed a horse park to get here. Just like to let
Right.
you know.
Got to be careful out here.
Yeah,
these parts.
I'm nervous, actually.
But you know, and we do it to police officers all the time.
Right.
We misplace whatever our own preconceived notion and frustration is. We misplace that on the figure of authority.
As a matter of fact, they're doing it to Barack Obama now.
Of course.
The president.
Oh, God.
Right, the whole Tea Party movement is misdirected.
Right, exactly.
We're going to create an entire new group.
Right.
Yeah.
We never
We
thought
have.
of this before.
Right.
Because the truth of the
Exactly.
matter is, all those Tea Party people are angry at the policies of George Bush, but they're directing those at Barack Obama, and they're not really even looking at what he's doing now as a president to offset what happened in his
Exactly.
previous 8 years.
Right.
Exactly.
So we have a whole group, and even the highest Republican, advisors will tell you the Tea Party is a direct result of George Bush's policies. But again, you have these people, and you have other people who are perpetuating it, and so it's a good point. As a society, we consistently misdirect our anger at figures of authority.
Right.
That is so true.
And I think that is ultimately one of the contributing factors to Robert's death. You know,
So you think that it was maybe the fact that he was already in a position of authority. So do you think, this is just your opinion, not
Right.
anything that you know or based on, but do you think that he was done worse off than anybody else because he was in a position of authority?
Now
You go ahead,
let's throw in real quick.
Right.
Because it was speculated that a girl had just crossed right before him, had just crossed bus C, and a guy as well. Robert was 235 pounds, huge. Like he was
6'2",
Six.
at least.
He was.
He was about 6'2", right?
Yeah, he wasn't an out of shape dude. He was large.
Made it through a whole band season,
Right.
without
No.
incident.
Let's start this out here. He was 26 and had been marching since he was 8th grade.
Right.
Right.
So,
So I don't.
he was in shape. That's not a factor.
Clean bill of health.
Clean
Yeah.
bill of health.
Yeah.
That wasn't an issue. So, all right, now it's his term.
Yeah.
And was it that he got it worse, or he couldn't take it? Now, I don't think he could not take it. I don't think that was the case at all of him being able to take the physical blunt, whatever. I don't think that whatever was dished out was reciprocated across the board. And I'm not okaying this by any means. Please understand.
Of course not.
that.
Right.
You're just trying to explain
But the fact that a female, and this has nothing to do with the glass ceiling wall thing, whatever crap. This has nothing to do with Title IX or anything like that. Like girls should get beat better. Nothing like
Right.
this. I just want everybody to understand.
All right.
It's just,
Right.
but a female physically, unless this girl was his size, his height, I do not see how she walked off the bus and he died.
Right. I mean, when you look at the science of it, like Samantha said, I read the same exact thing, that there were two other people that went over that night. One being a girl who was about 120, 130 pounds and about 5'2".
Exactly.
Also, you mentioned the fifth quarter earlier. I sometimes go on just as an observer, and I read the commentary, and I saw some very good points being made about, okay, same thing. Robert being a person that was 6'2", about 225, 235 pounds, marching his entire life, basically,
Pretty much.
getting through an entire season without incident as a drum major.
No problem.
No problem. And then two other people go over. And not only do two people go over, but neither one of those two people are even admitted to the hospital.
Right.
Good point.
Not from what I've read.
they didn't go to the hospital for anything.
Right.
Ever.
And then you got one person that is beat so severely that they ultimately lose their life. Never make it. They never walk off the bus themselves.
He never made it off the bus.
He never made it off the bus. He never was physically able to walk off the bus by himself. And then you have two other people who are not even admitted to the hospital that went through. Scientifically, that's impossible.
Right.
You can't tell me that those three people took the same amount, same severity of.
It's not possible.
So that lets you know he was clearly discriminated against in terms of being treated more severely than the other two people.
Right.
And let's be frank.
Yes,
if you've been through, and I speak for myself, and again, I've learned from whatever experiences I've experienced. But by the time you get to the last person, people are tired, so to speak. They don't necessarily have as much energy, but you'd be surprised how much suppressed energy or what can actually overcome people when they're angry or they're upset. And in my mind, because Robert he was so anti-hazing. He really was. Like, if you sit and have a conversation with, he would sit and tell you, like, dude, that's just bull. I don't even understand. It's just dumb. Yeah, I love my program. I love this, that, but that's stupid. And he would say that and have no problem with it. And I think that was an issue that people had. And they might not verbally say it or come out and just be frank with it or be 100 with it, so to speak. No pun intended. But that was an issue for people. You're our drum major. They elected you to lead us.
Right.
You can't.
And you didn't go through any of these.
Right.
I did my
outlets.
section. I did my bus. I crossed the street. I didn't get out. Like, like all this extra stuff that he did not do to get in the same position that you were in.
Right.
And people had issue with that.
Right.
I don't care what anybody say. Take it or leave it.
I have to agree with you there.
I agree too.
I have to back you on that one. I mean, and specifically people who were on that bus. You know. And when you talk about, especially when you talk about why would Robert do this, it's like, okay, I understand it. You are trying to put yourself in a position to be an ultimate leader in this organization. And maybe you started to second guess yourself and you started to say to some degree, okay, if I want to change it, I'm getting so far. And if the story is actually true that Dr. White was going to make him head drum major, then it would make sense that he's saying to himself, okay, I got to do something to at least earn the respect of the entire band. I didn't do clones. You know, I haven't crossed bus C.
Or at least, like you said, the percussion section.
Right. But you choose to do this renegade group from Georgia, so to speak. If we look at it like that, hey, you're gonna do these guys, but you can't. Oh, so you're above us, or you? I'm just giving perspective, guys.
It's like you just
just throwing it. If I was someone,
like you said, the percussion section is always that group away from
it's always I'll just go ahead and call them for what they are. This is not all percussionists, but it's a select few within the percussion section. There's a percentage, there's a group. They just riff-raffs in every single HBCU program that I've talked to people about. The percussion section has the most riff-raffs in the group, for lack of a better word.
No, you're absolutely
and they
right.
are they are the people who are the biggest disrespecters of authority. That's what I'm getting. So I'm saying if you mix that, you know, with a person, which, you know, I still don't know how I feel about Robert being head drum major, because there were other drum majors who had actually been marching more years than him. That's why I'm still trying to understand him. Like, maybe he was more of an outstanding leader than
even if he was section leader. Which, you know, a lot of people, he was section leader for a good little minute for the clarinet section. And, you know, everybody was known that he wanted to be drum major. That wasn't a secret. So I think what it was is that because he had a couple of drum majors graduate this year, some that were there too long. Yeah, I said it. They were there too long.
It happened. Yeah.
And if you were going to have somebody who was still enrolled, throw that out there. Someone still enrolled.
There was some in grad school, to be fair. You know, so.
But if you're gonna have, if I was Dr. White, and I'm trying, you know, making a professional decision
about a leader,
it would have been Robert.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason he wouldn't.
He fits the bill.
Right.
Period. He fit the bill.
To be honest, I never even thought about it as actually being a possibility. I thought that maybe Dr. White was just saying it for the pomp and circumstance of, you know, Robert Champion's death.
And I think I got the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I never really even thought about it literally in that sense. I just kind of brushed it off as, yeah, he's just
saving face.
Yeah, or saying something.
Just saying something good about somebody who was not here.
Passed away.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, we all have a tendency to do that. Mm-hmm. But I'm the same way as you. I really didn't entertain it until I started looking and saying, I mean, he was such an outstanding leader. It very well could be a possibility. Mm-hmm. You know. And if that were the case, that would, to me, compel a person otherwise who wouldn't do this to say, well, maybe I need to do something.
Right.
Because I don't see him at this late of juncture.
You've already gotten everything.
You're a drum major.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, you've done what, you know what I'm saying, your whole dream. You're like the spokesperson. Everything you saw as far as advertising, it was something with Robert and the little kid, like that. That was the image we saw from last season. That's all we saw.
Right.
So with that, it's like, okay, so Robert has done that. So I think that at some point he might have been pulled to the side. And so, look, dude,
I think it was definitely
it. I'm really considering
peer
it.
pressure.
You've been this outstanding. You've been this great. You've been exceeding the expectation.
Right.
Yeah, because to be totally honest, my latter years in college, like right before I graduated or when I was older, I didn't even want anybody to look at me wrong. Like, I didn't want you to ask me to do any type of, because in college they have all kind of crazy things. It's not necessarily getting beat up or anything like that. They would cross dorm rooms. They would cross, you know, it's just college.
Right.
It was just college
like,
stuff.
Right.
And
baseball.
at that point, like when I was an older a leader in the band, I didn't even want anybody looking at me talking about crossing the street. So I'm like, it had to have been something going on in Robert's head that would have given him a reason at that age, and in that position to make him say, okay, I need to cross this bus.
Because you've been so strong up until this point where you felt compelled to just forget everything that you've been telling all these other kids that have clearly, the March 100 is huge. Right. So that just for as many people that choose not to do these other acts, there are those that, you know, actually heard what you said and just listen to you.
Right. And then a lot of people are also saying, well, if he was so strong and if he was this anti-hazing and this and that, why did he cross Red Dog? Because they're a group of thugs that just beat each other. Another misconception. Right. A lot of people don't know, but Red Dog actually has a purpose and a meaning. Red Dog was actually formed back in the 90s by a group of students from Atlanta who decided to get together to support each other. That's the purpose of Red Dog, not to beat around or just say, hey, we from the A, we from Atlanta, shawty. It was so a group of freshmen
can be the backbone for
each other
because of what you deal with your freshman year. For those people that are not in the marching band, and you just think that we're playing our instruments, there is so much that goes on outside that field that people have to deal with.
It's your first time away from home. You don't have any food. You're wearing the same clothes. It's not even just the band life that's hard for a freshman. It's the school life as a whole.
The social
And
aspect.
if you're out there by yourself, it can be even harder, especially in a band of 300 people that you don't know, but you're spending the majority of your time with. A lot of people who don't really, I mean, and I'm not saying they don't care about your life, but these are people you just met, so they don't really know you or care about you right now, you know? So so that's why these group of freshmen got together to support each other, and throughout the years, that's what the purpose has continued to be. Whenever freshmen come in from the Atlanta area, and it's usually the Atlanta area, we pride ourselves on having very good musicians come from this area. A lot of times it's called the Mecca of high school marching bands because of the programs that we have. So when those children come in to our universities,
we will like to cater to them. Just point blank period.
We want to take care of you.
We want to make sure they go to school, get out, and become productive citizens. Point blank period. Because a lot of people who would go through what Robert probably was getting just in his 26 year of life, they go through their freshman year and they quit and they don't even return.
They don't go back to school.
A lot of people have band scholarships and they don't continue on their band scholarships just because of the flack, the things that people say to them. If people knew, if God forbid, I thank my mother for this, that I just have such a strong mind, but If I was anybody else, I probably would have quit my second day of band camp. But in this concept that I really live by, I've never been a lame a day in my life. So I just and I don't go by that.
Right.
So you know, I know what I can do. I know why Alabama A&M gave me the money they did for my instrument, and I'm gonna stay here and use it as my bill. And that's how I'm gonna pay my bills every day. This is my job. But if I didn't have anyone there to say, you know what, don't quit, don't this, that, and the other, because you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't have that backbone, and they need it. And people sleep on it. They say that he did RDO, this, that, and the other, but you'd be surprised. Like, he had a family when there was nobody else there to be his family.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. A lot of these kids are coming from these backgrounds that might not have the support system back at home. You know, I was lucky enough to have my mom sending me care packages and this and that, but everybody does not have that. So having
and we're not saying the champions don't do that, because I actually did meet them. But for all other kids, you never know their story.
Right.
And that's the one thing I can say about RDO, because it's not discriminatory based on what you got and what you don't have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's more so, look, you need to graduate.
Right.
I want you to graduate.
Let's get through this together.
You're a talented person. I got you. And that's just it.
Right, and the funny thing about it is, I think people still don't recognize what a culture shock it is to go to college.
They don't.
It is literally culture shock, because you go from being a senior in your prospective high school.
You're at the top.
Yeah,
you're the top of the
top tier.
Big dog.
Top tier. And
Section
you basically
leaders,
go
drum
down
majors.
to you're the lower. You in the lower echelon, you know.
You're in a collegiate marching band.
Right.
And especially when you start talking about these upper echelon marching bands like FAMU and BCU, where you having performances every single weekend. There's absolutely no
Your
breaks.
social life?
There's none. Your social life is
non-existent.
Right.
So these are the only people you see every day.
Right.
And what
Night
people don't
in and
really
out.
recognize is that these organizations, you know, when I was in the band, there was something called Miami Daps. Miami Daps was a homeboy organization for people who were from Miami and the South Florida area. You know, when earlier, before I got in the band, there was something called the Atlanta Jazz. The Atlanta Jazz was a homeboy organization. And it was a support system for people who were from Atlanta. It dissipated for a little while. And then in its place came the Red Dog Order. It's a homeboy organization. And it is basically built for you to have that support system that you all are talking about, because college is a culture shock.
It's rough.
It
In these
is.
organizations, people would actually, you know, you catch hell on the field as a freshman. And, you know, people, as soon as they hear hazing, they think, oh, it's so terrible, it's so this and that. But I'm like, you know, a lot of things that are considered hazing are not always counterproductive. They are very productive.
Right? Exactly. That's another thing.
Right. And hazing has that hazing that's productive has a lot to do with making sure that you are mentally sharp, aware, and accountable for not only yourself, but more than yourself. You're accountable for each of these people that came in with you. Right. You came in with a group of 16 people. Guess what? You need to know where they are at all times, even when you leave this field. Where are your 15 other brothers and sisters? Where do they live? What hometown are they from?
Did you walk her to her dorm?
Did you walk her to her dorm?
Things like that. That is not hazing.
That, you know, it's classified as hazing, but it's not counterproductive. It's actually productive.
There's another example too, because at BCU, like we used to hold our horns up all the time. You know what I'm saying? And that can be seen as hazing, but actually it's preparing you for when you're on the field during pregame and you're standing there in the hot
Jackson State
sun.
University.
At
Honda Battle
for 20
Flags for 20 minutes. You were prepped. You were aware.
Right.
And I think I don't know. I don't want to say it's an age thing or generational something or another. Because a lot of people say that my generation, I was a generation where Drama Live, that was the first year. That was my freshman year when they were filming. It came out my sophomore year.
Right.
So a lot of people say, oh, I'm in the Drama Live generation.
Right.
Negative. I can't relate to Devin Miles and his lifestyle.
Right.
I have no idea what a party felt like my freshman year. I'm sorry. I don't know. Like I don't understand that. But I think people have I think if it's for betterment, that's not detrimental.
Right.
I.e., I can't be responsible for your self-esteem.
Right.
And that's another issue that comes into play.
Right.
Because if I say something to you the wrong way, you take it as me yelling at you or talking down to
Now
you.
that's hazing.
No, I'm asking you to do something that I expect of myself.
Right.
I'm not gonna, but you take it because you're a sensitive person, and so now I'm looked at as a perpetrator.
Right.
Like I've done something.
And the truth is, I mean, look, if you're a young law student and you go into a law firm, newly graduated, you finish your degree in law, you go to a law firm, they're like, wait a minute, you're coming into my organization, and sure, you meet the prerequisite and pre-qualification
to get in the door.
but do you know the history of this particular organization?
Right.
You don't know it. So guess what? You may have studied, you may have seen tapes, you might have done all this, but now you need to know the inner workings, and you need to have an even deeper respect. So guess what you have to do? You have all the new duties. You got to go get coffee. You got to some days go get lunch. Some days you don't get a break. I was looking at some movie about, I forget what it was. Basically, this woman was an assistant to some fashion director.
The Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada. My wife and I were watching that movie. That woman got pledged.
She did.
She got pledged because basically everybody that wanted to be in her position wanted some type of pull in the fashion industry.
Right.
And the woman, was it Meryl Streep?
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, Miranda.
Yeah, Meryl Streep was basically like, look, I'm the it of it in this industry. People listen to whatever I say. Right. If I say the sky is golden, that's what it is. Like, you ain't look at it and say it's blue.
She's like, you thought that was an opinion? No.
Right. Right. So it's just like, so that can be, it's called hazing.
Right.
But you have to have a respect for the organization that you're stepping into. So everything is not going to be
peaches and cream.
Right. Everything is not going to be as friendly as you would like it. That doesn't mean it's negative.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's the American way.
Right.
That's life.
It is.
That is life.
Everywhere you go.
That is life. So
it's corporate America. You can have all the degrees in the world and walk into somebody's company. And because you have all these degrees, you automatically assume, well, I'm going to start here. And no, sir.
You have to serve.
That's not that. You have to put in your time. You have to put in your effort. You have to put in your work. And you have to show these people that you are dedicated to them and their purpose, their cause, their mission, their organization. You have to show these things. If you don't show that, then they're going to get rid of you and find somebody else that is.
Even the old school pastors in the church, the pastors, old school pastors and older churches specifically say, before you step up in the pulpit in front of people, you have to serve. So you had to go and feed the homeless. You had to go scrub floors. These were things you have to serve before you can stand in front of people and preach and be in that position of power and leadership and authority. No, you have to serve. So, I'm hearing this, it's like a tone of people saying, oh, well, if you're talked to the wrong way, then that's hazing and that's a negative thing. No, it's not a negative thing. It's people trying to protect.
You have to do exercises, but you have to march a 10-minute field show playing your instrument the entire time. Like, that's not like people don't understand. Like, that is work. Dude,
it's
I play
building
those
you for the job that you're preparing.
You have to freaking march and not average march. You can't do a Tennessee State drum major walking march. You have to fully march. You really do the 90s.
At least that's the expectation.
And do the horn swing. You have to do all that simultaneously while playing and remembering the music and remembering where you go on the field. Like, they don't realize it's a freaking science and art.
It's conditioning you for the job that you're about to do.
Right.
So that is not hazing.
Right. But somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened with these homeboy organizations like Red Dog, turned into like you have to go over it. That's ridiculous.
It goes right back to what we were talking about with the mentality.
Yeah.
The respect. You feel like you coming into something that I have already established.
Right.
And you need to go through something because I say so.
But let's throw this out here.
Okay.
If I'm a family, we're a family. We're family. We're supposed to be family. The family that I'm in now, they didn't have to touch me to love me.
Right.
That's my whole thing. I didn't have to prove anything for them to love me. They love me unconditionally, regardless.
You just
so a lot of, what I'm saying, I'm just there.
Right.
And even where I mess up, you know what? They love me harder. They go in on me harder. They make me an example harder. They do that harder, but they don't hit me harder.
Right.
They don't, that to me, and I can understand. That's with Slate. I'm with you on that. Like, where, homie, You gonna hit me in my eye.
Right.
Where do we lose concept? Like,
Right.
where do we lose the whole?
How do I call you my brother and I just like beat the fool out of you and call you my brother?
You know what?
nigga?
And that
my sister.
That goes to Greek life.
Oh yeah, it goes to all that.
That's an unspoken that people don't want to talk about. And,
Yeah.
and you know what? I would give this to those Greeks that looked at this whole bad thing as like, overshadowing what's really going on. But bruh, we know. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Y'all talk about it. So,
You know,
talk about it openly.
Right.
Oh, so your paper. Oh, and they're
Right.
not paper. They made.
I mean, come on.
Paper versus made. We know this. I've had a process. I'm not ignorant. I'm not dumb, and I know what it's looked like. People feel like they have to be made in order to be respected in an organization that is worldwide known.
Right.
But they live in that mindset of that campus.
Right.
They have no idea that this is bigger than that, and they feel like in order for me, like Robert, in order for me to make a evident change, I have to do this now,
Right.
just for the greater good, and that's so unfortunate.
And it's unfortunate.
You miss so many good people who are actually there for the actual cause.
Right.
Because if you look and think about the founders of these D9 organizations, when these groups were started, who were their enemies? Why were they built? They were built because we had all these segregational issues, all these civil rights issues, all these, clearly I just said, we had the entire country on our back going against us, and the only way we could stand up and be strong was with one another, holding one another up. And then suddenly you get these groups, and along the way, you guys break each other down to bring each other back up. That doesn't make sense. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Right. It's interesting. It's interesting that you start talking about our leaders, our civil rights leaders. Because I saw on Facebook this picture of Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson. I think it was it might have been Ralph David Abernathy, and they were all standing on the balcony where King got shot at the
Q Alpha.
and one of them had Q Psi Phi Alpha, Kappa Alpha, and I was thinking to myself right then, did they get beat for those letters?
I don't think Martin Luther King let anybody lay hands on him.
I would doubt it very seriously.
I
don't think Martin Luther King let anybody lay hands on him for anything.
And I'm just, and for everybody listening, I'm just bringing it up to segue into the band world. Like any organization, it makes no sense. Even if nothing happened, even if Robert would have walked off that bus with a couple of bumps and bruises, it still doesn't make sense.
No difference. No one
It doesn't make
cares
sense.
because it's what you do. You be surprised. The people who go through the beatings and the brutings and they do the dumbest stuff, they do the illegal activities, they do this, that, and the other, and they walk off. But they suck at what they do. They do not represent the organization. They are not the person you will put out to be the spokesperson.
That's true.
They are not that guy.
Right.
We're going to say that they're not that person. So it doesn't matter if you can take 100 licks, you can get in the cut for 30 hours. It does not matter. And if you don't know what the cut is, that is you.
Right.
It's a term.
It also goes back to self-esteem too. It gives you a false sense of
You feel like you
made it.
You that guy. I can do this because I did this, that, and the other. No, because if I sit and I think about what we're actually about, and when I think about the meetings that we're in, you're never there. So because you chose to, you made that personal choice to get your whooped,
Right.
you chose to do that.
Give no service to the organization,
but you don't do what we actually came to do. You don't service our community.
Right.
You don't provide any enrichment. You don't do any kind of sisterhood. You don't do any kind of dedication. No kind of sovereignty. Nothing.
Right.
And I'm supposed to respect you.
And that's why most of them you don't see anymore. After they cross over, they cross over and then they're deuces because that's all they came to do.
They want to wear a jacket.
Right. Right.
So it is, of course, it's bigger than this band thing. We'll say that.
Of course it is. It's
bigger
much
than-
larger than
It's just that
the
this
band.
is
It's much
our
larger than
focus.
FAMU.
It's
a
huge.
part of our American culture
Culture.
specifically, but it's a part of our world, And it's unfortunate that we can't see it for the few individuals who were on that bus who I clearly think treated Robert differently and more severe because of several different things, things that we
myth.
talked about,
Here we go.
That we left out,
what's that?
his sexual preference.
Right. which in my world doesn't make a difference.
Like I said, I love Robert to death. I promise you, he was.
Right.
People know me. I'm not an emotional person,
right, but
I'm trying to. But like I said, I love Robert, and I feel like the world is not as open as they want to convey.
No.
At all.
And I would really hope. I would really, really, really hope for those individuals, and just for their sake, that had nothing to do with the situation as a whole, because that really sets society back. Like you said, we're not as open as we'd like to say, but we are getting a little more open. But if that did play a role in it, that would set us completely back, and that would really paint those people as worse than they are.
Well, either way, whatever the reason was, it's gonna set back two groups, two demographics.
Right.
Yeah. So it's gonna set back the black race for the fact that you beating this guy's. You murdered him, pretty much.
You murdered him.
Or it's gonna set back the country as a whole, saying that they're not open-minded to people with different views and lifestyles, and this, that, and the other, and especially at a black campus, which if you guys are not aware, we're still a minority.
Right. Yeah. We are
just
still very much.
Just so you understand, we're under Hispanics.
Yeah, I was about to say we're one of the minorities in the minorities.
So this is what I'm saying. So just so you understand, if you're not aware, we are a minority, and the fact that this is going on with just amongst ourselves. Right. So it's a lot. It's just like
yeah. I mean, it is clearly to me. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me. If that's your preference, then that's your preference. But when I think about the mentality, and this is based on my experience again, personal experience in the band, my personal experience specifically at FAMU, and based on the fact that, Samantha, you told me the other day on Facebook, you talk too much. I do. I talk a lot and I listen a lot, because I like to get perspective. I like to always understand the backlog. I like to understand what led up to this explosion. You know what I'm saying? So I carefully dissect and examine things. I talk to a lot of people from different HBCUs, and the same holds true for me in terms of my experience and what I've listened to and learned, is that it all kind of just fits into this same mentality. When you deal with specific people in this section, there is a lot of homophobia. There's a lot of just hate toward this type of person, And I'm saying, I think you just had just a mixture of these different elements, like the lack of the poor respect for authority, the fact that he stood against non-hazing, the fact that people may have suspected him to be a homosexual. And these are things that the media has basically, anybody that looks at the situation from a common sense standpoint, and when they understand the science, two other people went over. Neither one of them went to the hospital.
One was a female.
One was a female. This guy lost his life. Blunt force trauma. When you talk about, the severity in which he was, it's beyond a ritual.
Right.
And people see it, at least the outside people. People in the band world are still just trying to somewhat protect it. From what I've seen, they're trying to say, he just couldn't take it like everybody else.
Thing. Okay, you being an alumnus from Florida A&M,
right.
And this is one conversation that I've had, and ironically, no one that currently marches at FAMU has spoken on this issue, to my knowledge. They've not said anything, right. But the alumni have, their theories and this, that, and other, and most of it is like they're protecting it. They'll found a counter argument for everything versus actually saying this happened and it was wrong.
Right. And
why do you think that is?
I'll tell you what it is, in my opinion. It's, part of it is not productive at all. Part of it is some people not willing to take a good hard look at what's happening in this particular situation and just say, I'm embarrassed, but it's my school.
Yeah.
Just take the L.
Yeah, and part of it is, part of it is that the media, if you look at the progression of the story, it's like it started off as being, a hazing death. And then it went on to be, of course, you saw the thing where Dr. White was fired. Then he was rehired. And then there was an attack on Dr. White. You didn't do what you were supposed to do.
President Ammons.
Right, President Ammons, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And it's like the shark smelled the blood in the water, and they just kind of went after FAMU because at one point they actually said we're setting aside the Robert Champion investigation because now we found some financial irregularities.
They did bring that up.
And I'm like, what does that have to do with? So the reason that those alumni are so protective is because there have been people waiting to label FAMU as a corrupt institution without this incident.
Gotcha. Okay.
But now this death has given people ammunition to basically say, oh, we need to shut FAMU down and make it Florida State University South. You know, that's been an agenda for a long time. So those alumni recognize that that has been in the pipeline. People have felt like that. You know, FAMU actually had a bomber when I was in school. A guy who was servicing vending machines, a white guy. He was actually putting bombs in vending machines.
Wow.
And it took about 4 bombs to actually go off at the school before they caught him and made the correlation. And you know what his statement was when he was arrested was, man, I'm just sick of these niggas over here at FAMU. He was a white guy.
Wow.
So understand that there is, as there is in any HBCU, any institution of learning where there are African Americans getting an education, doing something positive, there's a certain population, there's a certain part of our population that just does not think that black people should be educated.
And that's the thing, FAMU was one of the top, 15 ranked in the country?
I mean, so that's what those alumni are protecting, because as soon as you hear this story, you know, there have been alumni. I'll shout out my boy. His name is Kofi Hemingway. Mm-hmm. Kofi went on CBS News, and he told a 30-minute story, comprehensive, talking about hazing at other universities. We talked about how this guy at Cornell was kidnapped by a fraternity. Mm-hmm. They duct taped him, his feet, his hands, his mouth, and they played a drinking game with him, air quotes on game. Mm-hmm. And basically he lost his life because his blood alcohol level was 5 times the legal limit. Mm. Now, they investigated the fraternity, of course. This happened back in February. We didn't hear of this until after the thing went on with Robert Champion. Somebody else dug it up. Mm. But and the funny thing about it was not only was that fraternity responsible for this death, but since 1996, that fraternity had been responsible for 7 deaths nationwide.
And that would never been.
And we never heard about it. You know, my wife was a Duke graduate. When all that thing went on with those Duke lacrosse players years and years ago, the victim, they painted that girl to be some hooker who was on a pole. Mm-hmm. She was nothing of the sort. But they exonerated those guys. They never showed their faces, those lacrosse players. They exonerated those guys. When they found out, it's like, oh, they've been found. You know, they've been proved not guilty, whatever they exonerated. The girl dropped charges. Whatever happened, those guys were exonerated. So it's like when FAMU doesn't get the same treatment, people put all these things together and they're very protective of it, sometimes for the wrong reasons, you know. But it's like we understand FAMU represents any black college in this situation.
Pretty much. That's true.
Any black college in this situation.
Because one black college equals them all in the country.
You know, and that's what makes me laugh too, is when people try to act like, oh man, y'all did something crazy. You know what? These specific guys on this bus that night did something crazy. FAMU, Northern Marching 100 did something crazy. This is an individual mandate. And it could have happened in your band. Mm-hmm. Because you know that y'all haze. You know that y'all do crazy things, and you know that y'all have hazed to the point to where it got out of control, but it didn't get beyond the borders of your band or your school or whatever it was. You know, everybody like to throw the stones, and trust me, I would feel this way if it were any other black college. You know,
exactly.
Black university, black band, I would feel this way because I understand how we are all so interconnected. But I'm not going to look at any institution. Story. It's the same story. I'm not going to look at any institution and say, man, y'all crazy and that now. Southern boy, y'all. Nah, that's an ignorant mindset to me. You know, to just try to sit there and say, this is based on so the whole band just whoop somebody to death. You know, I'm just the person that I like to peel back the layers. I like to say more intelligent things and look at things from a more investigative perspective. You know, and say what caused this, and I'll get it down. I'll say no, it wasn't FAMU, it wasn't 100, it wasn't even the entire percussion section. It was these ignorant individuals that chose to engage in this ritual on bus C, where they isolated this dude and treated him even worse than the other two people. That's what it was. And for me, that person does not reflect the March 100 or society in general.
Right.
Or FAMU.
Because I can honestly say in my network of people whom I work with a slew of March 100 alumni.
Right.
And they don't exhibit anything remotely of what I think would have been on that bus.
Right.
And I'm just going to be frank with it.
Right.
I don't. And they might have actually marched in the times where it was worse.
Right.
Say,
So
but when pledging
right.
was,
Right.
okay, and it was out and it was in the open.
Right.
So, and outside that. But to piggyback, I guess, on what Slate was saying, this is all of our problem. This is all of our problem, only because of the time that we live in and the country we live in. We're not in Europe where everybody is European. Or, we're not in Asia where everybody's Asian. No, we're in North America where you're black, you're
Right.
white, you're
Right.
you're Mexican, you're this and another. So you're at an HBCU. You're distinguished already by yourself.
Right.
So it happened at FAMU, but guess what? It happens at Howard. It
Right.
happens at Hampton. It happens at Norfolk. It happens at Alabama A&M, at Tennessee State. It happens at all black schools.
Right.
Unfortunately, to the eye of those looking in. Now, to kind of counter it, it did happen specifically at this location, on this bus, at this place, and there are people trying. No, I'm not saying they're trying. But they are feeling like, okay, you guys are really just pointing a bullseye at us because this happened. Let's not remember all the stuff that's happened at all these other schools for the past 100 years, because there have been years of hazing
Right.
going on in this country
Right.
at predominantly white colleges.
Right.
And it's never come up
But
until
we
now.
don't hear about it.
It's never come up until now. I remember in undergrad, I did a paper in my public speaking class on a hazing incident, and everybody looked at me like I was stupid or I was just like making some stuff up, even though I cited everybody. But I was
Right.
like, this is a realistic thing. This is realistic.
Right.
But I went from an HBCU to a PWC.
Right.
So people were like, whatever. It happens.
Right.
I'm glad that the light is shined on it, but I don't want it to be looked at as a culture thing, because it's not a culture thing.
Right.
There are beatings here, there's drinking there, there's people going off ledges here, there are people going on binges here, there are drug intake here, there's this, that, and the other. It is the country. We
Right.
have a misconception on what it is to be accepted. And unfortunately, we are feeding that freaking ideal.
We are, and it's really poor, and it's really sad that there are more black college alumni and black college current students speaking more negatively about the incident as it pertains to putting the FAMU label on it, and everybody else is just kind of being politically correct about it, And I want to say, it's like most of the FAMUans that I have talked to are saying this is terrible. This is terrible that it happened, period. Yeah, secondly, it's terrible that it happened at our university to somebody that we all respected as a leader. We were all dumbfounded. How does this happen to anybody, much less a drum major? It's a terrible thing. But, then you get to, I've had countless numbers of friends come up to me and tell me, I had a FAMU shirt on today, and somebody was like, oh, you're still wearing that?
I've heard
It's like, well, what do you go? Or I went to Howard. I went to Hampton. I can't believe you still walk around with that shirt on. It's like,
what?
that's, and that's us and how we treating each other, And it's like, on the one hand, you say, look, yeah, it happened. And it happened at our alma mater. It's terrible, And we have to take the criticism. We have to be the bullseye for that. That's what it is. But at the same time, recognize that it could have happened anywhere.
My question is, do you think that the process for fitting in might possibly be worse at other universities or at some universities than others? Is it more likely to have happened at FAMU than Hampton or Howard?
That's a good question. And,
because I know that's a lot of people's argument. A lot of people's argument is that, you know,
it's the severity and
it happened at FAMU, and this might be an isolated incident with isolated people, but there's been other instances where FAMU has, you know, hurt people and all that stuff.
Right. And based on that logic, I could not argue because there have been incidences where there have been other examples of hazing. You know,
Marcus.
Right. And you know, and to some degree, it's like the world. You know, I have to put this out there. The world constitutes it as hazing. That's the category you have to put it in for the sake of categorizing these things.
Right.
You know, what I knew was hazing when I was in the band was clarinet players, of course, had to cut off all the tips of their gloves so their fingertips could actually cover the holes.
Right.
So when they got new gloves, midway, beginning, end of the season, when they got gloves, they cut the tips off. So my freshman year, this girl, I think her name was Nikita Dean, she basically took her fingertips and cut them right in front of me, 10 fingertips, and was like, don't let them hit the ground. So I had to catch them while she cut them. And she said, now I want these back after the last game. As soon as you come off the field for halftime, I want them back. And they better be looking brand new, just like this. Now, she was playing a mental hazing game with me because I was supposed to think to myself, what am I supposed to do with these fingertips? Like, I don't have pockets on my uniform. What am I supposed to do with this? And then she came back and said, I might ask you for them at any given time, just because I want to see them. They better be just like new, and you better have them when I ask you for them. So it was a hazing game. It was a mental game because I started thinking to myself, what am I going to do to keep these things clean? What am I going to do to keep them on my person at all times? Because she might ask them for me. She might ask me for them at any time.
Right.
And I thought to myself, and it took me about 20 minutes to say, man, I probably just need to put them in a bag.
I see her like zip
Yeah, that's
line.
But I was so she psyched me out so bad. She psyched me out so bad that I wasn't using my common sense.
Which, if you're in that situation, you won't.
When you're in that situation, first of all, you're like,
knock
I'm a
down
freshman,
the door.
and this upperclassman is right. And this upperclassman is talking to me. First of all, wow, okay. This upperclassman just spoke to me.
Right.
She gave me a directive. My mind was completely thrown off. So, yeah, I took them, I put them in a Ziploc bag, and I kept them in my hat, in my shaker, inside of my hat. Every game, I had them. Now, after that, you know, I gave them back to her. She came up to me, just like she said, last game of the season, and I gave them to her out of the hat. And she said, I just want you to know I was playing a mental game with you for you to always be prepared. She's like, there's something that you need to have. You need to think about what it is that you need to have with you every single place you go. Because I had some other people to ask you about the gloves. I didn't know about the fingertips. I didn't know, but my section leader had asked me about it. I didn't know it was connected to her. Somebody else, one of my homeboys had asked me about it. It was connected to her. I didn't know. She was like, but I consistently checked to make sure you had those glove tips. So she said, think about what it is that you need for yourself personally and always be prepared. That was her lesson. So to this day, I never leave anywhere without having my own pen. And I think about that thing. Now, would I have learned that later on? Maybe in some way. To the degree that I learned it, who knows?
Right.
But that was hazing for me. You know, also physical conditioning. You know, when I hear about somebody getting killed on a bus, or getting paddled 300 times, to me that doesn't even qualify as hazing. That's not even hazing to me. That's
realistic
just
though.
How do you paddle somebody 300 times?
How does
even that number?
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Right.
I hear people say this all the time, and I don't entertain it because it's like you sound like a fuck. You sound like a fool.
Right.
You sound like a fool, and I'm just there like, oh, so yeah, I got 300 licks that night. 300 licks of what?
Yeah.
Like seriously, that doesn't. Okay, let's dispel something real quick.
Right.
Like, the body cannot physically any form take blunt force at that level.
I don't get it.
300. That's not realistic. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. You sound stupid. I hate when people say that.
I don't get it.
What are you celebrating? What you celebrating that you can take a beating? You are a wonderful slave. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Uncle Tom. We appreciate that. Seriously, Kunta, what are you doing? I'm just saying, like, what are you celebrating?
Right.
You're taking us back 300 years.
Right. And I'm just saying to myself, like, when I hear about those stories, even if that were true, I'm saying that is not hazing in the form of what I understand it to be. That is just a beating.
Yeah, brutality.
That's all it is.
That's just a beating. That's not. Don't clutter up the hazing word, because, I know it's gonna sound controversial to say that, but that's not hazing. That is just a beating.
You allow someone, not your parent, in your adult life to lay hands on you.
I mean, that many times. Like,
like you
that's just a beating.
Really, like, you weren't getting jumped. Right. It wasn't you walked into an alley and people just pummeled you.
Right.
No.
Right.
You voluntarily bent over, grabbed your area, held it up. We all know what getting the cut is.
Right.
You did that and allowed somebody to do it and let you tell it 300 times.
Yeah.
Let you tell it 300 times. But I'm sorry. I'm gonna research this after we leave this this setting, because 300 times. I just hate when people say that. Oh yeah, I took this on this night.
Right, I took these many licks.
Right. Lie. Shut up.
It doesn't matter, but it's seriously. That's not hazing.
Right.
We have to recondition our brains to really understand that word. That is not hazing. We need to understand how to differentiate between hazing and just somebody beating you. That is just a beating.
Right.
You killed somebody on a bus.
On a bus.
That's not hazing. You killed somebody.
So
that's murder to me.
And you know what I think a lot of people don't understand, where people who personally know Robert, and a lot of people don't even know anything about the situation, for those, that were there, and they went idly, we'll say, for however much time afterwards and said nothing.
Yeah, that just pisses me off, for lack of a better word. Excuse my French.
It's
I'm like, that man's parents did not get a chance to spend the holiday with him.
Right before the holiday.
There was there was no Christmas, there was no New Year's, and the people on that bus who had something to do with his death, they got to be with their families. They got their freedom, and they still have it. New Year's, holidays, just the chance to pick up the phone and say hello.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl, whatever it is.
Currently, right now, to this day.
Right.
And granted, Robert's funeral was like one of the most beautiful funerals I will ever. The whole. I've never seen anything like it. It was really thought out, and it was really planned for for I would say this a champion. His last name is so fitting for him.
Right.
But it was like, I couldn't even. It was like and I hate to say this, people who I have so much respect for. And on my Facebook, people would say stuff like, "You're acting like this is just new stuff that happened." I'm sorry, but this is just new that somebody died.
Right. Somebody lost their life.
Someone died, and I don't understand how you don't grasp
it's
that.
Some person again who was just not showing the best part of their intelligent self and their rational self.
And I could not grasp that for the life.
And that's what I can't stand, when you introduce or when you induce logic into the argument, and you try to tell people, and you still get the current band members from all over, on these sites that I've read that just still try to justify this, man. Everybody take a ass whooping. Everybody, excuse my French. Everybody take this. Everybody take a butt whooping. Blah, blah, blah. He just couldn't handle it.
And
yada, yada, yada. Just stop it.
Well, he walked into it.
And
like nobody expects to walk into that.
I plan to walk out. If I'm going to walk into it, I plan to walk out.
And that's just an insensitive thing to say.
I don't understand also the mentality of the person who is doing the beating, like to actually put your hands on somebody like that, not let yourself be beat up, but. I don't even want to hit anybody, fight anybody, much less beat them to death.
Because then you factor in, when I have kids.
It's a cowardly move, man. It's a cowardly mentality.
If somebody did it to your child, your first cousin, your nephew, your niece, if somebody did that to someone you know and or loved, your immediate reaction is like, oh no, this is not going to happen.
Right.
So it's almost you ask yourself, like, are these people sensitive? Are they even human? Because they know, if this happened to them or
Right.
someone that was related to them or correlated with them, they would not stand for it. So why is it okay for it to happen to this person?
Right.
Like, what
Right.
is your justification?
What's your justification for being that cruel and insensitive in your comments? And that's one thing that I just want to happen. People all over, just stop trying to defend whatever process you went through. Stop trying to defend something that just logically does not make sense. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment, and certainly nobody deserves to lose their life over some mess in the band.
Extracurricular activity.
Right, the band.
Not even the band.
He
but
was
the
The
bus.
band.
You would think he was at war.
Right.
Right.
Guys have
Protecting-
made it back from being shot at.
Right.
Shot.
Bombs being attached to them.
They've been in the hole with a grenade.
Guys, you know what I'm saying? In the desert, it's scorching hot heat, and they got full uniforms on. People have endured so much more and survived. For somebody to die like that is completely it's just unfathomable. And then to hear people say the things that they say and trying to defend it, that's why I'm just like, how can you, when you see that mentality, it's like, how can you argue against the powers that be to just say, you know what, just shut the whole thing down?
Right.
When you see the mentality of people like that, it's just a process.
So
He couldn't take
and
it.
it is like, because it's in every band. It's in every band. There's always this group of people that seem to think, oh man, he was weak. He just can't do it.
Right.
He just, this, that, and the other.
Right.
Y'all are stupid.
And my logic would just be, do a psychological analysis on everybody that you bring in as a freshman.
If you have
And
to
continuously.
Right.
Psychologically do an analysis on these people. Every year you come back into the band.
Because those same people that don't have that support system, those same people that feel like they have to do something to fit in, they grow into the worst people in these programs.
Right.
They're the ones that bring the most attention to these programs.
Yep,
They
the
bring
most negative attention.
Everything. They are always the ones that need. It's just like anybody that's in the education system that works with children. The kid that needs the most attention, you give them all that attention, and guess what? All you're doing is feeding the problem. That is all you're doing. You take your time out of your classroom setting to entertain this child that wants to sit here and act a butthole, and you do that, and then you give them your attention, and guess what? They know what they need to do to get your attention, and then you're the 28 in your classroom. You're not paying them any attention because you're focusing on this butthole, and this butthole is getting all the attention, and guess what? They grow up to be a bigger butthole, and then they come to our bands, and we have to deal with them as these adult buttholes. And it's just
or
like
they go out there and run from the police, or they
exactly. It's
anything that's just a lack of respect for authority. That's
ultimately,
and it's really a shame. But I think that needs to be induced into our band cultures. Just period. Like, what's your psychological makeup? We need to do an evaluation of you. Just in terms of your mental health.
I think that's the parenting too.
Right.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Oh,
The
definitely.
parenting falls into it, because if you're not getting attention at home, you're trying to get it somewhere.
Right.
That's just a given. You need to feel like somebody loves you, or somebody wants you, or somebody needs that attention. And it's unfortunate that is that way, but geesh, like it's just like
This is all it's all a mess, and it and it hurts even more. It's closer to home when it's somebody that you know, and with somebody that you know what their mentality was and how they affected people. So it's like it's twice the hurt in this situation. But I just would, everybody that's actually listening to this, I just would, band members alike, just understand that this is it's a more widespread problem than we think.
yes.
And there is a loss of life here that we all should just really be aware of in terms of anything we do and say.
Please
and-
be sensitive.
Yeah, be sensitive and but like you said earlier, just understand that when you are in a situation and something doesn't rub you right, it's okay to say, I'm not cool with this.
Right.
I don't need to accept, I don't need to belong to this. I'm good. Y'all can ostracize me. Y'all can cast me out, whatever it is, but I'm good.
This is one thing I have to always, and I tell my son, I have a 9-year-old, and I tell him all the time, Jay, people in your classroom might not like what you do. My son likes to dress himself, and I don't question him as long as he's
Right.
whatever makes him comfortable. I have no
Right.
issue with him. Granted, looking at him is like, oh, this is really awkward, but that's what he wants to do.
Right.
So, but I tell him before he leaves the house, Jay, if anybody has any issue, what you have on or what you do, you just understand that the only person that you need to impress is no one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you die today, when you go and wait to try to get into heaven, there isn't a line, and God isn't saying, you know, the person with the best jacket or the best looking this or the person who did this, that, and the other is going to get in.
Right.
It's not who you impressed here on earth is going to make it where you go in the end.
Right.
And I have to have him understand that all this that you're doing to impress man, it makes no difference ultimately.
Right.
And that's one thing that people, I think, they need to understand, that this I have to be compelled to do for this person that I'm next to, and I have to be compelled to impress and this, that, and other for this man. This you're placing too much on these people versus the ultimate endpoint. Don't. And you don't understand that my judgment point is not what happens in my band program or what happened in my band program or what happened at my job, or, you know, it's ultimately what I do as a person and what I've done, and actually what I do when nobody's looking.
Right.
My character, that's ultimately what is going to be my judging standpoint. And if my character tells me that I'm not going to deal with that, and I think ultimately everybody's intuition tells them that this is wrong, this is not this, that, and the other, but something else kicks in and say, well, I have to do it. I have to go ahead and, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and get it out the way. But something in everyone says that, I believe personally.
Right.
And it just, the common sense goes out the window.
Right. Oh man, well, it's been real. It has been real. You know what I'm saying?
Realer than real.
All right. This is supposed to be a 10-minute segment.
7 minutes to be exactly.
Oh man, it's supposed to be 7 to 10 minutes.
We're going on to 1 hour and 25 minutes.
Right.
The game is over. The Giants won.
Oh, they did?
We had no
Wow, we
idea.
didn't know all that. Wow.
Yeah, I took to Twitter. Give an update.
Well,
Yeah.
shout out to the Giants for winning the Super Bowl.
Man,
Maybe
screw the Giants.
maybe the Patriots lost because they cut that dude last night from their roster. That
They
might
cut
have been
somebody
bad
last
karma.
night.
Yeah,
That might
somebody
do it.
got cut from the roster.
Like the day before the game.
Like the day before the game.
Wow,
Yeah, that
guys.
might have been a little karma, Belichick. So,
Gotcha.
you know, I was a Patriots fan, but after I read about that today, I was like, wow, that was pretty cruel.
Might have been the dumbest.
Yeah, pretty cruel. But congratulations to the Giants for winning the Super Bowl.
You're the champions. You're the world
Whatever.
champs.
Yeah.
The football
Whatever.
world
Yeah,
champions.
football world
because no
champs.
one else plays football in the other country.
Right.
Go, guys.
So, man, since we're going to boot this back up later on, y'all will be hearing more from us on 90 Degree Radio. Make sure you check out the website, bandroomnation.com.
Bandroomnation.com.
Man, Linnell, you got an event coming up on the 24th of March, right?
Yes, we do have an event coming up on March 24th. This is SRDC, the Southeastern Regional Dance Line Championship. It's for high school dance lines. Will be coming to Atlanta at Westlake High School to compete for the first place grand prize of $1,000 and also the trophy and the bragging rights of being the champions of SRDC.
Yeah, man. So we gotta get JK out there, of course.
Got to.
Yeah.
Be one of the auxiliary judges.
Yeah, we try to get Slade out there to rock the mic.
Oh man, I'll be there, man.
He said he's gonna be there.
I will be there.
Speaking of, aren't Drumline Live auditions coming up soon?
Drumline Live auditions are coming up. I don't know the exact dates.
You guys talk about something. I'll be right back. I'm going to find out.
Oh man,
Go ahead.
you gotta get the exact. You know what? They can check the website
The flyer.
at www.drumlinelive.com. You can always check the website. For those of y'all who might be wondering what Drumline Live is, it's basically a theatrical stage play that's based on the movie, loosely on the movie Drumline. What we do is take HBCU marching band members from all HBCUs all over the country. We stick them on one stage. We got production, we got lights, we got uniforms, and we basically just do it in the name of musicianship and represent HBCU culture. We've done about 3 tours now. We've done Seoul, Korea. We've been in Japan 3 different times in about 11 different cities in Japan. We've done over 100 cities here in the U.S. It's a strong theatrical tour. It's just growing.
A wonderful, wonderful show.
Great show. All kinds of
music. Let me kill the myth that people think is based on the movie. It is so nice.
I say loosely based on the movie.
It is the greatest actual stage play show. Like, it is really good. I had some friends in South Korea, and I was like, okay, guys, I need you, to go support the show, this, that, and the other. So they were thinking like, oh, it's gonna be.
Wait a minute, wait. Who says I have some friends in South Korea?
Some friends over there in South Korea.
Yeah.
Okay,
like everybody does.
It's me.
Just call me. Right.
It's just me.
That's Samantha. That's
all right.
Continue.
Come on, all right, guys.
Some friends over in Zimbabwe.
Right. Hey guys,
where you live? Douglasville, Georgia.
Right. Yeah, check the stage play out for me. Friends over in South Korea.
Anyway, but I actually, my friends went. They fully enjoyed it. They are not bandheads. I'm gonna throw this out there.
Right.
This is for all demographics.
Right.
People that do any and everything. If you like music, if you
like good
enjoy,
music, right.
you will really enjoy this show. And if you are a musician, a performer, the auditions are actually coming up March 5th through March 11th. You can actually Skype or do an online audition at drumlinelive.com. So I really encourage everybody. Apparently we have 50 plus dates coming up for the show.
Yeah, we've got another tour that's probably gonna kick back up.
This will be the
August,
4th one.
September. Yeah, this will be the 4th tour.
You guys, that means that Slate to the Rock is gonna be leaving me again for
you know
another.
What? You will have to come out
and you know
on
what?
location, and we'll have to record our show.
There we go.
And I can do that. That's
On
not
location.
a problem. That we never actually brought that up last time. So you know,
Right, because we've been talking for the longest about adding a piece to the end of the regular show, the stage show, to actually incorporate this show with interviewing people in the audience,
and
see what they thought about the show.
And we can stay with Sky's friends in South Korea.
Right. It's clear that she has friends all over the world.
If I get some friends in
problem.
Japan, then we're good, which I think
Yeah.
Hey. So, but yeah, so
Let's do it.
I call my friend Kim Jong-il in North Korea.
Yeah, Kim Jong.
Right.
I think he's dead.
Wait a minute.
What's his son's name?
Kim Jong No.
Right. Kim Jong
Kim
No.
Jong Lee.
Right. Kim Jong. Yeah, it's something else.
Kim Jong.
I feel like this is just being I'm really racist. Like this is really racist. But no, I want to encourage everyone, especially if you are someone who just took a semester or so off from school and you didn't have the money for it. This is definitely for you. You're a great musician. You still want to play. You really still can play. You're a dancer, and you can still do all those acrobatics, things that dancers do. And, you should really audition, and I encourage you to do so online.
Yes.
March 5th through March 11th at drumlinelive.com. Details will be on there. We will take Skype auditions and YouTube.
Make sure you hit up the website and see what the prerequisites are for you. For your audition, dancers, they have to do certain moves. Instrumentals, of course, they have to play.
Percussion, you have to do
right.
as well. So.
Right. We like people that play more than one instrument. We like people that have more than one talent. So if you can play and sing, play and dance, play and act, whatever your talents are, if you can play 2 instruments and act, 2 instruments and sing, whatever it is that you're good at. If you're marching in an HBCU band and you think you can take your talent to the stage, we want you to audition. That's what it is.
I'm speaking this into existence. I really do see you guys being nominated for something because it is that good. Like I was oh my gosh!
I'm hoping to get a Tony Award.
But the show is that good, and Slate to the Rock is like the greatest host ever.
Oh, stop it! Flattery will get you everywhere. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Oh my goodness! But next time I come to the show, I do anticipate better seats. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it yet, so I'm definitely gonna try to catch this.
So freaking awesome! I want to actually take kids that I work with in my actual real job thing. I want to take them so they can have exposure because I think that it'll open a door for people who think music is just not cool. You know, it's not cool to be in a band. It's the best thing in the world.
It's the best
Let me
thing
throw
in
it out
the world.
there.
Actually, pretty totally awesome.
Right. The band is completely awesome. It really
It's
is.
totally awesome.
You know, don't let
can't even-
the recent negative attention give you some idea that's not there. I promise
Yeah.
you, for that one negative story, you have millions
Oh,
of positives.
That's right.
So
That's right.
that's just one. Just look at it that way.
There-
Think of all the musicians you love and like now. Think of Marvin Gaye. Think of the Jacksons. Think of anybody that has touched a gold or platinum album. They have some kind of music background. I don't care what you say.
And that
or
starts
their
in the band.
producer does.
Starts in the band.
I'm telling you, I've seen so many experiences that I would not have seen had I not been in the band. I've been to LA twice. I've performed at the Super Bowl. I've performed at the Pro Bowl. I performed like for video games, like all types of different things that you never would have dreamed of if you weren't even in the band.
Right.
You know?
It's a doorway, man. It's a doorway to the world.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
experiences.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on this Super Bowl Sunday, once again, we want to say congratulations to the New York Giants.
Ooh,
This is 90 Degree Radio.
3 hours later.
3 hours later.
Yeah, you know, I
what?
anticipate a lot of editing, but if you guys listen to the entire show, I think you'd be fully entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully entertained.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or comments from this, please mention us at Twitter at Bandroomnation, and we're also gonna get a 90 Degree Radio Twitter page going.
I
Right,
would
you know?
give my personal Twitter out,
not
but
doing that.
I'm not going to do that because
I'm
I
not.
would be, you know what, because I respond to every mention I receive. And if it's negative, you're going to get a response back. So
There
we're
we
going to
go.
hold off on that.
Yeah, so just send them to Bandroom at Bandroom Nation so we can just sift through it.
I tell you what, I like
Emily do it.
I like all the comments, negative and positive, because even the negative comments, you know, I'd like to educate people. So I give baccalaureate degrees. I give bachelor's degrees. I give master's degrees.
Associate.
I even
Even
will give an associate's degree from time to time. I keep a cap and gown in my trunk. I will be more than happy to educate you and then have your ceremony. And I will take your tassel and put it on the right side for you at the conclusion of your ceremony.
Where's this guy been?
So check this out.
That's the best deal you can ever get.
I mean,
All in one.
I will educate you and give you a cap and gown for on the house.
So
and a
please
ceremony.
offer your input because, you know, we plan on what's the next show going to be, guys?
Who knows?
Yeah,
It'll be
we'll-
soon.
Yeah, it'll be soon. 'Cause
We
we're
cover
back.
something, and
We're
as
here
long as
back.
you guys don't do anything, we're
Yeah.
good. But I anticipate Jamboree-ish around
Jamboree.
that time.
Jamboree.
So look for us around
Or maybe
May.
even in March for
Or-
SRDC.
Yeah, over
Yeah.
SRDC. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
It's a new event we have coming up. So you guys will get, you know, my perspective from I'm a trained dancer. I can't do auxiliary stuff, so it's real different for me. I tried. I promise you, I like some kid on speed. It is awful.
Some kid.
Yeah, it's so I'll go to that event and give my perspective.
There it
It's
is.
gonna be JK's event,
And she
and we're gonna be sitting on the sides of her.
Yeah, really. Hey, so what do you think?
Right.
Ooh,
Sitting over there making jokes the whole time.
What do you call it? Oh, that was cute.
Right. Talking about outfits.
Right.
You know, so we'll try to give as much input as we could.
There you go. There you
There
go.
we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, for 90 Degree Radio, I'm Slate to the Rock.
It's this girl Sky Blue. That's 2 Y's and 1 U.
And I'm Lonnie B. Good.
Man, listen, band rules the world. We are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams. Band heads unite. Bandroomnation.com, 90 Degree Radio. Peace.
Audio.
Goodbye.
Let's